Well, hi everybody, and welcome to my radio shop. I'm working on the Westinghouse 1398, and in the last video, which I'm just posting right now while I shoot this one, I discovered that the FM section's actually working, and I did that with this unit here providing a FM signal right around 100 megahertz, and the radio picked it up. So maybe it's time for a little recap before we get into the next stage. So a little recap. Maybe that's a bad word to use. Maybe recap's not the best word to use when you're doing this kind of work. Actually, it is a bit of a recap. So where are we at with this radio? Okay, the AM band, the lower shortwave band appear to be working fine. The audio sounds fine on this radio, good enough for now, that's for sure. The upper shortwave band appears to not be receiving. I'm not sure why yet. And the FM band, which has not worked, appears to have been suffering a number of problems, mostly tubes. 2 tubes I found were dead in the dead or weak in the FM strip, and I've replaced those with known good tubes. And let's see, I did some voltage checking. I have a video on this, but I haven't posted it, and I may not. I haven't decided yet if I'll post it, but I poked around with my voltmeter. The B plus in the radio is 250 volts or so, and sure enough, on this tube, I see the 250 on the plate, but on these 2 tubes, there's just over 100, and I'm thinking that's not right. And I'm looking for some reason for it being low. And one reason I thought was one of 2 capacitors, well, maybe both for that matter, shorted out, or partially shorted out. The one capacitor was here, and you see the new one in there, the bright yellow one. And the other capacitor was part of this guy, and there's his replacement. So having replaced the capacitor up here and this one here, there is nothing on the circuit that feeds these 2 tubes that can draw the voltage down that I can see. And since these 2 tubes are essentially fed from the same bus as this guy, and this guy's getting the full 250, either some other component like a resistor involved with these 2 has gone high and is limiting the voltage, or the design voltage is purposefully 100. 100 is about as low as you can go with these tubes. This is a 6E4, and this one down here is a 6EG5, I believe. So that's the situation. And then I applied the FM signal into it, which if you watched the last video, you saw the result. It's not great, but it's there. And that gives me a lot to work with now. But before we go any further with the radio, let me talk just a little bit about the 6C4 and the internal connection in the tube between pin 5 and pin 1, which if you watched an earlier video, you know I got stumped on it for a while. Now the real reason I got stumped on that was because for the last 3 months or 4 months I have not been able to find my tube manual. It's been lost. And the tube manual is a fantastically helpful thing. And here's my tube manual. I found it now, which is the great outcome of the 6C4 saga. I said to myself, I can't let this happen again. I gotta find this manual. And wouldn't you know it, it took me 30 seconds to find it. It was simply buried among some other books I have, and it got kind of pushed to the back and disappeared, so you couldn't see it. So it only took like a minute of hunting, and there it is. I'm kind of embarrassed that for 4 months I've been going without this. This is a great manual. I see, just for every tube, like this one, you know, it gives a chart, it gives words describing its, describing interesting things about the particular tube, and it gives this diagram. Now this diagram, if I'd had this book handy, I would have popped it open, because without the book, I've been going on the internet and fishing up information, which is easy enough to do. And I've been relying on this site in England called Valve Museum, which I kind of like. And at the Valve Museum, they don't, there are lots of interesting information about tubes, but it is a little more of a museum sort of thing. They don't have these diagrams. What they have instead is just a chart, and it shows you pin 1 is the anode, pin 2 is the cathode, etc. When I looked at the 6C4 on Valve Museum, I looked at the chart, I looked at pin 5 and it said plate. And I didn't look any further. I wasn't prompted to. I wasn't thinking that, oh, maybe it's another pin. Of course, that I should have, but I didn't. If I'd had this book, I would have seen right away. Let me pop this on here. I would have seen right away that there's an internal connection. I mean, this thing wouldn't have stopped me for 2 seconds, but instead, I spent a fair bit of time pondering this, just not able to get my head around the idea that there might be another pin involved. And another thing that's happened to me here, frankly, is I'm doing this on YouTube, and I am looking for help and assistance. And after pondering this for about 10 minutes, frankly, going back and forth and trying to figure out what it is I don't know, I thought, well, I'll just throw it out to my YouTube friends, and somebody will know what's going on here. And of course, just about everybody knows what's going on here except for me, because I'd misplaced my wonderful manual. I've had this for about 30 years now. Got this book, someone just handed it to me when I was much younger. They didn't need it. They were older, and they were giving it to me. In fact, his name's in here. July 17th, 1957, Hugo Oja. He's a fellow that I worked with for a while. Very nice guy. Unfortunately, he passed away quite a long time ago. And I'm so thankful he gave me this manual, because it's a great manual. So that's the story. So I won't be asking any stupid questions anymore about tubes. And you know, when I'm shooting these videos too, I'm using my my tablet to shoot them. And I also use my tablet to look up information. I can't do them both at the same time. You know, maybe I could. I should try that for fun, but it would make for a pretty boring video while I quietly look at other stuff on the screen here. So all that's made it really clumsy for me to get the most important and simple information about tubes and pinouts and stuff like that. I don't have it all in my head, that's for sure, so I really do need these books. So anyway, I am not going to misplace this guy again, and he's going to come out quite a bit while I'm working now. I'm so happy I found it. So the end of the whole 6C4 craziness is, got my tube manual, and I'm far better off for having found it. So thanks everybody who rushed in to try to help me. Now let's get on with something a little more interesting here, which is we're going to consider what to do now. Now that I know a signal gets through here, I think the next stage might be to try to improve the alignment in the radio where it can be done fairly easily in the FM area. And the reason I say that is to do a real proper job here on the FM. I think I need equipment I don't have. Or to do it with the equipment I have is going to be a real struggle, I think. And what I'm really referring to is sweep scope or sweep generator, signal generator. I don't have it. And so things get a little more difficult without it. I'm certainly going to have to pick one up though, because I have too many radios coming through with FM sections, and I'm going to have to get smart about all this stuff. Pretty good on the AM side, but the FM side still not some, you know, and in these old radios, you don't see a lot of FM. Now maybe I should take that back. In this vintage, perhaps. But anything a little older than this, there's no FM in it. So anyway, let's get on with what we're going to do here. So I think the first thing I want to do is ponder this question of, can I reasonably expect an improvement out of a little bit of alignment activity on the FM side, or am I playing with disaster? And the first challenge is, here, can you guys read this? I sure can't. It's printed so small, I gotta get out a magnifying glass just to read this. And there's lots of warnings in here. One of them is, I think I might have read this before, or maybe, maybe not. The usual symptom of alignment is not a lack of sensitivity, but poor tone quality, particularly on loud passages. Now, if you watched the video previous to this one, you heard the signal that my FM signal generator produces. You heard it on a good radio. It's a fairly clear 1000 hertz tone. And then you heard it on this radio, and it's really, really poor. So to me, that's tonal quality down the drain. And so that invites us, invites me and you watching to attempt some kind of FM alignment. Now I believe there's a lot of alignment issues with the, okay, sorry, my camera quit there, but I saw it quit, so I caught it right away. So I apologize again for my camera's spontaneous stopping. I still don't know why it does that. So anyway, let's carry on. I was just going to say it's not the detector that I'm interested in aligning at this point, because I think that's where the real challenge is. Aligning the IF shouldn't be so difficult. So I'm going to have to study this chart here. Look at it. Oh, there's all kinds of instructions here. And really take a look and see if I can pull this off, because I think if I just can build the strength of the signal up in the radio, then I'll be able to take on some more FM work, and who knows, maybe it's going to get good enough pretty quick. I don't know. And I can't do much harm to it, can I really, because it's not working at this point. And the distorted signal suggests it's all about alignment. Now as for the low voltage on these two tubes, at this point I'm going to assume that that's okay, that that's the way they're intended to be. I think it's a bad assumption, but that's how I'm going to go. And I'm going to carry on with the work, and just I'll probably end up back at it trying to figure out why the voltage is low. And that's how we'll kind of proceed. So I got to go study I got to study this for a while, maybe quite a while, and I'll figure out what to try. So we'll see you soon. Oh, I'm sorry, I hesitated because I just looked at my camera and it has a timer counter on it. It says a minute 46, 47, 48, and it stopped there for about 5 seconds and was frozen. So I don't know what's going on with my camera. Hopefully this video is not all mucked up, and we'll just get on with attempting to boost up the FM. So good news is it's working to some degree, and that's a lot better than nothing.